Hello everybody. How are we doing tonight? I hope we're all doing well. Ellipti, Skitty, Crenshaw, Willow, Ellipti. Hope you guys are all doing lovely. And Sylvie, thank you for joining us. I have had a lovely day so far, and by lovely I mean I finished Outer Wilds, and then I almost cried, and then I thought about Outer Wilds for the rest of the day. I'm having a great time. I beat it. I think I played a total of 22 hours, I think was like my total runtime, overall in the game. Fucking incredible experience. And I'm gonna have to process it for a while. Yo, you finished it? I did. It was when everything finally clicked. Oh, it was the best. When like there was one moment. Okay, that's actually okay. If you have any interest at all in playing Outer Wilds, and you really should because it's a fantastic game. If you have any interest at all, you should mute for like the next like minute. I'm gonna put my cursor on screen. When I move my cursor off the screen, I will have stopped talking about spoilers. Okay, I seriously like this is the most adamant recommendation. If you like puzzle games, if you like exploration, if you like games with like games that you can only really play once and you can never experience it in the same way again, you should play Outer Wilds. You should play it. You should play it, and you should play it with no spoilers. Okay. I'm gonna start talking about it now. The Ash Twin project was the last thing that I had as a giant question mark on my ship's log, and the previous night, like last night, I was laying awake in bed at 2 a.m. trying to think, because I had gone to the Quantum Moon, and I could not figure out how to get to the North Pole in the Quantum Moon, and I was really struggling because I was just sitting there and I was clicking the flashlight, because you can get to the 6th location on the Quantum Moon. I was so happy that I found out how to get on the Quantum Moon myself. I was trying to get to the 6th location. You get to the 6th location on the Quantum Moon, and if you're not on the North Pole, you can't get in. Like, you can't get the door will be blocked. And I was like, fuck, how do I get on? And I was laying in bed that night, like trying to figure out a solution. And I was thinking about the Ash Twin project, and I was like, they have teleporters to everywhere on the Ash Twin project, or everywhere on the Ash Twin. And they even have them on because they have one to like Giant's Deep, they have one to all these different places, but they also have one on the Ash Twin, or on the Hourglass Twins, that reflect the Ash Twin and the Ember Twin. And I was like, why would they have those? Like, why would those exist? If because it's on your own planet, you're teleporting to it, so why are those there? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And so I was like, okay, shit. So I go over there, and I'm just sitting under there, and I'm like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put my scout there. I'm gonna put my scout, and I'm gonna just sit there, and I'm gonna wait for the teleportation to happen. Also, we're discussing Outer Wild spoilers still right now. If you just popped in, I'm talking about it, so if you want to mute, you can mute. I sincerely suggest that you play it. So I put my scout on there, and I'm like, I'm just gonna wait, right? And I put the scout on one teleporter, I'm on the other one, and this teleport and the scout, as the hourglass passes over, the scout teleports. And it teleports into the Ash Twin project. And I'm like, holy fuck. And I don't know where it's teleported to, because I don't know that the Ash Twin project's inside yet. I'm like, holy shit. And I'm like looking around with the scout. And so I get on the other side, and the sand like pulls you up, so it's hard to get on the teleporter. And so I finally figure out how to get on the teleporter, and I'm like in the Ash Twin project, and the fucking music for the time loop starts playing, and I'm like, shit. And I'm like looking at everything. I'm trying to like scan all the information as fast as possible. I realize that the warp core is up in the Ash Twin project, and I'm like, oh fuck, I need to bring that to the vessel, because the vessel has the broken warp core, and I need to use that to get the vessel out. And so like the next loop, I like instantly am like at the Ash Twin project. I'm like putting all together, and it is the best feeling in the world. Like, holy fuck, it is so fucking cool. It is so cool being able to finally piece that together after 20 hours and doing it all myself. Oh, and then the ending is just like beautiful, and it's emotional. I felt so fucking cool. anyways, that was my experience with it. We're all done. We're all done. I could go on for longer, but yeah. But yeah. So it was great. And I so highly recommend the game. I'm gonna watch so many playthroughs now. I've had just Vanderson's streams for the game. Like, I've been wanting to watch them for forever, and now I finally can. I still need to. I'm not gonna play the DLC because the DLC is supposedly really spooky, and I'm just gonna watch the DLC. But I'm gonna watch Joseph Vanderson's first playthrough of just the base game, and then I'll probably watch his playthrough of the DLC. But I've been talking to one of my friends, Julia, who was the one that got me to start playing it, and we've just been talking back and forth, and I'm just like, fuck, it was such a cool experience. So, and it was so cool putting all the timeline together of like the events, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I'm so happy with it, and I'm so happy. Oops, oh fuck, sorry. Let me move. That's wrong, on the wrong screen. So, anyways. Sorry about that. Right screen. Okay. Hello, Duality. Currently driving home from family thing. Oh, and hi, Arch. I saw you popped in while I was talking spoilers. But yeah, so I'm in a great mood. I'm in such a good mood. I'm also gonna be so emotional. I was on my run and I was listening to a song that I thought that like perfectly reflected the game, and I just looped that same song for like the entire like 25 minutes I was running, plus the time I was in the shower when I got back. Same song over and over again, just like vividly, like meticulously planning out the animation in my brain, because that's what you do when you're ill, right? And I'm like, oh, maybe I'll do like a little char. Like, I kind of want to draw. I was doodling. Where's the doodle that I did? Where's the doodle? This I did right before starting stream. I drew this. It's the guy, and then it sounded wild. So I was like, So yeah, I'm a little bit sick. Also, hi Sino. It's your birthday, Sino? Oh my gosh, happy birthday. What the hell? Oh my goodness, happy birthday. Oh, I'm glad you still wanted to join us on your birthday. So yeah, well, we're pretty much, actually, it's funny, we haven't even got to the summary. I've just been talking about Outer Wilds for the past 10 minutes. Nothing like spending a birthday night reading Home Fic. True, so true. Tonight's a good one, I think. Actually, I didn't check. Usually I check before stream. I do a little skim, but I was busy today finishing a video game and crying over it. So, yeah. So we're gonna do a quick little summary of chapter 23, and then we'll hop right into it. So yeah. So in chapter 23, we just do the last bit of the past chapter. Where we kind of ended off, Karkat had gotten kidnapped by Cronus, placed into the White Void, and we are in Rose's POV as they realize what happened to Karkat and try to track him down. Aridin, they use, also by Arch, they use Aridin to help get information to track him down. They end up tracking him down to the police station. And Solux makes a plan to have everybody go into his little void space except him and Aridin, and the two of them get into a fake fight, quote-unquote fake, and get themselves arrested to find Cronus. They find him, and they end up lodging Dave's cursed skateboard into Cronus's chest to be able to try to pull Karkat out. But as Rose digs in and tries to retrieve Karkat, he's not in there. And all she pulls out is this small black licorice Scotty dog. And then Cronus's body disintegrates. Not because she pulled out the little dog, but because Cronus died upon getting a cursed skateboard stabbed into him. So that's where we ended off. And now they are sitting in front of a disintegrated Cronus in the middle of a police station. well, Carcatless. So that's where we're at right now. All right, let me take a little sip. Tonight's stream will be a pretty decent chunk. This is a pretty decent chunky chapter, so we're gonna just try to hop right in. All right. We're still in Rose POV, by the way, if it isn't obvious from the text. Music's okay. All right. You stare in terror at the space that the angel before you once was. He's not dead, is he? Dave whispers. He's super fucking dead, Solix says, lifting his hand off of the burnt paper on the ground. Is Carcat dead? Dave demands. No, he's alive, Solix confirms with a look at his arm. There's a bang from the other side of the cell door that Aridin was in. Solix startles and turns around to look at it. With a snap of his fingers, it swings inwards. Aridin is clinging to the door frame in obvious pain, his hand clutched to his chest. Wait, you never said you had a dead man's code, he says in alarm. Didn't know. Aridin grits out through clenched teeth. You can see that he's starting to dissolve into light. I shouldn't have taken the heart. Makara has it. I gave it to... Tell Carcat, I'm sorry, Aridin chokes out. He stumbles forward and Solix catches him out of sheer reflex. He's up on his knees, reaching up to steady Aridin, who is slumping half into Solix's hands and half against the doorframe. That asshole taking me down with him. Fuck. Just tell Carcat I'm sorry, Aridin says again. Solix says. Aridin's body is coming apart before your eyes. He probably won't forgive me. I don't deserve it, Aridin wheezes. It's Carcat. It's what he does, Solix tells him. Aridin laughs just once, and then dissipates into fading light. There's nothing left but a scarf on the floor and a slip of paper drifting to the ground. Solix catches it out of the air, and after a moment of hesitation, just pockets it. Where is Carcat, then? Kanaya asks, breaking the stunned silence. I don't know. He was supposed to be there. You really didn't see him? Solix asks, looking at you. No, there was nothing in there at all. The only thing I pulled out was this. What does this mean? You tell him, and hold out the licorice dog. Solix stares at the dog in utter horror. Solix! Jade barks at him. Slick likes those, but there's someone else who'd leave something like that behind, and I don't think Spade Slick could take Carcat from inside Cronus. The other guy probably could, though, Solix says shakily. Can't you go ask him and see if he has Carcat? Kanaya points out. Oh, can't you go and ask him if he has Carcat? Kanaya points out. Solix nods and scrambles to get to his feet. In a puff of smoke, he disappears. Okay, so Carcat's alive, just not here. We're now stuck in a police station, having just loudly killed the guy running the place, and also 2 people just arrested are gone. We have a lot of problems here, Dave says in a hushed voice. I'm actually struggling to see any part of which isn't a problem, Kanaya agrees. Well, at least it couldn't get worse, Jade laughs uneasily. Distantly, you hear shouting and doors banging and the faint sound of sirens. All of you look accusingly at Jade for jinxing you all. Solix reappears in a puff of bicolored smoke. It's not him, it's the other guy, Solix announces. So what does that mean? Dave presses him. It means that we're fucked. I can't go there anymore, Solix answers. Anymore? What happened? Terezi asks suspiciously, a suspicion that you feel is warranted. I may have gone there before, to that plane, to see the guy who lives there. I might have lost my temper at something he did and the fact that he wouldn't answer my questions, and I may have destroyed a few things and tried to beat him up with a chair before he exiled me forever, Solix says uneasily. That's a lot to take in, but how about we get out of here? We can't stay in this police station, you point out. Someone is going to come along eventually. A door opening at the end of the hall makes you all freeze, and Solix groans when 2 men in crisp black suits come down the hallway. You people, Solix grumbles. You kids need to get up. The building is being evacuated, one man says and reaches a hand down to Kanaya to pull her to her feet. She doesn't take it and stands up on her own. Evacuated for what? Jade asks. There's been a gas leak, the man answers. Yeah, you really look like you're from the gas company, Solix scoffs. The man, who has thus far been silent, presses his finger to his ears and looks away a little. Ailman here. Yes, ma'am. Right away. Over. The man says with a nod. DuPont, Miss Rose says the east side is cleared. Staff out in the main office. It's just us and the west block left, the second man says to the first, who simply nods in acknowledgement. Please come this way, the first man says as he ushers you out of the building. You don't really want to go. You also don't believe there's a gas leak in this building for even a second, but you also don't want to stay here. If they'll escort you out, you'll go with it. Besides which, Solix doesn't seem alarmed by them, so you're probably fine. As the first man guides you past with patronizing hand on your back, you happen to glance at his chest. On the lapel of his suit is a pin, ever so small and subtle, like some people have for flags. Only this one is blue and wavy, exactly like the one you saw on the statue and the other items in Solix's void. Looking up at the man's face, you spy the slightest smear of something white in the hint of stubble at his jawline, like makeup or something. Once outside, the two men take you away to a safe distance. There are confused-looking police officers sitting on the back of ambulances. It must be the effects of whatever mind control Cronus had on them suddenly vanishing. There's more than a few black-suited people around, almost all men. All of them turn to watch the building, and a moment or two after it explodes in a fireball that leaves you crouched on the ground with your hands over your head. Absurdly, one of the men in the suit whoops in delight at the explosion, only to be elbowed into silence by another one next to him. We should get somewhere safe. I'm kind of aware that we just killed 2 angels right out in the open, and if any other angels were paying attention, we really don't want to be staying here. We should go back home, Solix suggests. Mom's place, you ask, rubbing your ears until they pop. They're still ringing slightly. I'm not sure if she'd let me go there. Hold on, I need to find Beck, Jade says, and she turns around and sticks 2 fingers in her mouth and whistles. In a flash of green, Beck bounds up to her, his tail wagging. You're probably right, but Joey and Jude's place is just as safe for you. I'll take you back there. Terezi already got into the Lalonde house somehow, and Solix looks at Kanaya, the only one left. I'll call Mom and talk to her, you say. You're not happy with Kanaya reacting to Karket's species like she did, but she did just risk her life to try to get him back. That counts for something, so you're not going to leave her exposed to potentially vengeful angels if you can help it. Wait, could you not just modify the code in the half-Harley manner to let Kanaya in? Jade suggests. That would actually be easier than convincing Roxy to let someone in the house in her current state. Solix agrees. So me and Kanaya go back there, the rest of you go to the Lalonde place, and then we talk about what to do next and where Karkat is? Jade asks. Yeah, that'll do. I'll take you two first. Hold on. Solix agrees. He puts his hand on Jade and Kanaya, whistles at Beck, and then vanishes. With a bark and a flash of green, the Hellhound follows after. If Karkat isn't with Spade Slick, we need to know where he is now and how we get there. Just because Solix is banned doesn't mean that it's impossible, you say. When you turn around to look at Terezi and Dave, they have very different expressions on. Terezi looks thoughtful, mentally switched on, like she's trying to plan what to do next. Dave looks like he's trying very hard not to throw up on his shoes. What's wrong? You ask him. My boyfriend's been kidnapped again, and I just murdered a man with a skateboard. What do you think? Dave yells in response. You clamp your hand over his mouth as fast as you can. Just a little louder around all the police officers, why don't you? You hiss at him. A guy just died, Rose. 2, actually. Why aren't you freaking out about this? He retorts, at least quieter this time. They were angels, and pretty shitty people, you say reasonably. Karkat's an angel too. He's still people, he insists. Of course he is. We care about him. That's why we're trying to find him. Besides, you didn't mean to skateboard a man to death, you say. Dave looks a little ill at your words and cringes backwards. I think it was a pretty great way to kill an angel. Launch an unholy thing at him at speed, and it was a skateboard, no less. Hilarious, Terezi cackles. You watch Dave's expression become carefully blank. It happens sometimes around your mom when he doesn't want her to see that she's said something upsetting, or whenever he really wants to hide things about himself. It doesn't work fantastically well because you know it means there's something there worth hiding. It's the VP, one of the suited men gasps, running close enough to your group for you to hear. He's sprinting to the woman in the suit nearby. Ma'am, it's the VP for you, he says breathlessly and hands the phone over. The woman in the suit sharpens immediately and nervously lifts the phone to her ear. You edge closer. Hello, sir. This is Ro here. Yes, sir. Gas leak, like we said. No, it's all burnt up now. Are they? Oh, good. Yes, they absolutely made it out, sir. The demon has taken 2, and the dog thing, the rest are still... No, of course not. Really? She did. That's an honor, sir. Yes, of course, I will. Thank you. Goodbye, sir, the woman says. She hangs up the phone wide-eyed and doesn't entirely manage to suppress a delighted squeak. You quickly turn your back to her and watch her in the reflection of a nearby shop window, just in time too because she glances over at you. He spoke personally to you and me, the man in the black who handed her the phone says in awe. This is big. This is so big. I can't wait for the next meeting. Oh, make sure you wave the fire people here when they arrive. The other team is with them. Just be sure everything's gone, the woman says in glee. You hear the familiar displacement of air that signals Solix's arrival. Not that it matters much, as the woman in charge is already starting to walk off to some other people in her weird organization. Rose, come on, let's go. Solix calls to you. You turn and head over. You hold tight to his shoulder, and in a flash, you're back in his room in your house. Solix moves to turn his computer on and pushes the desk chair at Dave, who sits down. I said I'd video call Jade so we can talk, he explains as he floats cross-legged in the air before his computer. You wait as he opens up the desktop version of Trollian and opens a video call with Jade. When the call connects, you get a slightly grainy view of a bedroom with Jade and Kanaya sat side by side. Hello? Jade says and waves. Hi, Jade, we can hear and see you, Solix confirms. Same. So what's the plan now, then? If Slick doesn't have Karkat, then who does? Kanaya says. Whoa, shouldn't we get June in on this? She's Karkat's friend, too, and I feel bad leaving her out of the loop like this, Jade points out. Would Kanaya appear on a webcam? Would she appear on a webcam? She doesn't appear in camera. Doesn't she not appear in photos? And that's like a whole thing. I feel like Kanaya wouldn't appear in videos. Just an interesting little note. Maybe she would. Maybe it's different than cameras. Don't think she'd appear on the camera? Probably not. It does say, but maybe that's something just not thought of. Disembodied voice. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You just hear it. But it does say Kanaya and Jade sat side by side. But I would assume Kanaya, being a vampire, probably wouldn't appear on a video, which would do all sorts of things for a security camera. Vampires would, well, that's maybe a bit specious, but in theory, Kanaya would be. It's based on Mercury and mirrors or something, right? Probably not in cameras. Well, but there was a bit at the beginning where she has to have her ID profile, painted. So the interesting thing about vampires is that the reason they don't have reflections or appear in photos is because mirrors were silver-backed. Oh, but this seems to go by magic rules. Yeah, because in theory, like an ID, like a school ID, which is, because that's what I remember Kanaya talking about, is that her school ID, she had to have it painted on. That's technically doesn't have to be silver-backed. So in theory, it works a little differently here. So either A, like she should technically not appear in video, or B, technically her picture should be able to be on an ID if it's based on silver. Interesting. Just a little nitpick. I don't know. It came to my mind. You open your mouth to say that it'd be impossible to bring June into this. There's too many things that you can't talk about. Something tingles in the back of your mind, and you pull your phone out and check the last conversation you had with her. She mentioned Karkat being an angel, but you never told her that. Terezi and your mom both worked it out themselves. Same with Kanaya, but the rest of you only know because you saw him, which means that none of you could have just told June, and you can't see any basis where June could have asked the right questions out of nowhere to guess it. It's not like Kanaya, who seemingly has experience with angels, or your mom, who knows about this stuff, or Terezi, who knows all sorts of dragony mysterious shit. June's just a girl you've been friends with for years, who's been studying magic at school as long as you have. No way she guessed. An idea percolates in your mind, and a plan drips down into words. Solux, I can't believe you told June what Karkat was, and you didn't tell Karkat himself, you accuse him. What? I didn't... You know I can't, and I would have told Karkat if I could have, Solux protests. Well, she knew already, and I didn't tell her. Did anyone else? You ask. Everyone shakes their head. June mentioned it in the car, but I assumed... I don't know. I didn't think about it, Dave says slowly. Karkat must have said something to June, and she must have guessed. It wouldn't be too hard, especially if he's mentioned falling out of Jade's house, but still obviously being fine, and me and him being opposites or whatever. She probably just got lucky or something. Solix insists uneasily. Sure, that's probably it. We should add June. You're right, Jade. I feel bad for leaving her out. You agree? Solix leans forward, resting his elbows on the desk, and moves the mouse and does everything to invite June to the call. It rings a couple times before she picks up, and before Solix can say anything, you ask your question. June, we're calling about Karkat and how he's gone missing. An angel took him, but then he wasn't there. I've just realized that I don't remember telling you that's what he was before you already knew. How did you find out? You ask quickly. Oh, Solix told me, June says, clearly taken aback. Really? Because he said he didn't and couldn't have, you say. You see the muted panic on June's face, even though she's trying to force it down. Oh, sorry. I mean, Solix told me a lot of stuff about Karkat going missing and all that. Karkat was the one who said first about being an angel, or he said a bunch of weird stuff, and I made a lucky guess, I suppose. June amends. Bullshit. How? You start. I don't care. I don't care how she knows. I want to find him. Can we get back on topic already? Dave demands. You've lost momentum for your questions, but you're now more certain than ever that something sinister is going on here. You doubt that Dave will allow you to keep pressing the issue, and regardless, you are also desperate to find Karkat. You said he wasn't with Spade Slick. Why did you think that he would be, and what makes you so sure that he's not? Let's start there, Kanaya suggests. To get into a void like that, you either need to manually do it like we did, or be able to open a specific kind of portal. I'm not sure if one of Slick's doors would qualify, but since you could die in there, I'd say maybe. The licorice dog is a thing he likes, but he swears blind it wasn't him. I also know that Karkat isn't dead, and he pointed out that if he'd brought Karkat into Aradia's realm again, she'd obliterate him. So, not him. He has no motive for taking him either, Solix explains. And the other person? Dave prompts him. I can't talk about it, but I can't go there, and I can't get him because the other guy that I can't go near is there, Solix says, clumsily stepping around the spell that holds his tongues on such matters. Right, June says slowly. Can we go there? You ask. It's a pretty hostile environment for humans, and if you survive there, it's only because he allows you to. Not that you could get there, it's too far away, Solix says. Can we not teleport, even if we went without you? You try again, but he still shakes his head. What about helping him escape from here? Dave asks. Well, Solix hesitates and leans back in the air a little as he thinks. If he was allowed to leave, it'd be no problem. He'd just get back here the same way he got out of Cronus, courtesy of that guy I can't talk about. If he escaped, which is... Solix hesitates. Is this place a whole realm, or just one person's home? Jade asks sensibly. Both. Solix answers. What kind of security is there? Kanaya asks. There's 14 guys there for security. I don't really know about all of them. I only tossed a few out of the way to get to the guy who owns the place. He also has an assistant/prisoner. If Karkat was able to get out of that realm, then he's absolutely capable of making it back here, he tells you all. An assistant/prisoner? Kanaya asks in shock. I wasn't really sure which, and I was too busy trying to hit the guy with the chair to make him tell why he'd... Solix's voice catches, and you hear his teeth click together. Too close. Maybe we can look at trying to summon him back somehow. You could ask your mom for help, Dave. Other than that, I don't see much else we can do, June says. There's seriously nothing else we can do? Dave asks, looking at Solix and almost begging him for another answer. I don't know. I don't. I'm going to try to ask other people, other demons. I'll ask Slick. Any favors I can call in, I will, but I don't know. This isn't my area of expertise, Dave. I'm trying. Solix's voice is tight at the end, and it's plain that he's just as upset about his words. It's plain that he's just as upset about the words he's having to say as Dave is to hear them. You all hurt to hear it. So, what do we do? Jade asks quietly. Stay here for now. Keep an eye out for anything weird. If anyone besides those weird guys in suits loiters outside the Half-Harley Manor, let me know immediately. June should be fine because she was at home the whole time and not involved, and we stay here except for me going to go ask people about how to get Karkat back. If it looks like no one in heaven noticed the Amporas die, or that they're going to debate it for 100 years before doing anything, then we can leave. Until then, stay put, Solix advises. I'll go tell Roxy what happened, Terezi says and leaves. Simple as that. You swear she walks around as if she owns the place. Oh, crap, Dad means me. Okay, keep me posted, all right? June says and then hangs up. I guess we'll go too then, Jade says. You're all lost, and you feel like you've lost a battle. Not to mention the whole damned war. You leave the room, stumble into your own, and fall into the bed. What if you can't get wherever he is? What if he can't escape and he's stuck there? Helplessness rises up around you, like your house is flooding and you're going to drown in it. But no, you refuse to sit here and do nothing. You're going to try to do something. You march over to your desk and pull the drawer open. You unpacked a little when you came home and you shoved your thus far useless tarot cards out of the way. But now you're going to try to use them. Even if there's a 1 in a billion chance that they do anything, that's better than your chances with you simply sitting on your bed and feeling sorry for yourself. Kneeling on the floor, you shuffle the deck with angry determination. You're going to try this like so. What led to the current situation you have in mind, what the current situation is for Karkat, and then how it resolves. Not the most typical spread, but you're going for it. You deal face down. 1 card, 2 cards, 3 cards. The deck goes off to the side. You touch your finger to the first card, your nail going under the corner, ready to flip. Anything but a blank card. You pray silently to yourself, to Cthulhu, if you have to. You need to see the answers here. You turn the card. The Fool, reversed. You're not as familiar with tarot as you could be, but somehow you know that means being taken advantage of. There are other interpretations, of course, but it's as far as you know, the right one. As your fingers rest on the card, your sight drifts. Squirming in the dark, the barrier isn't so strong now. There is gore from behind you. Another one has fallen, but you have other drives. Tentacles squirm under the barrier of the door, as thin as can be, and suddenly, a door opens in the distance. What? Who are you? I think you'd better come inside, don't you? Unless you'd rather stay there and risk things with your current host. I am a far better one, I assure you. You know what? Fuck it. You gasp and snap back into yourself. That was a vision of Karkat, or at least an audio vision of him. Desperately, you flip the next card, but it's blank, and so is the other one after it. Scrambling to your feet, you rush out of the room and across the hall to Dave's. Your mom is in there with him, her hand on his shoulder as she speaks to him. They can't get in here. They won't find you, she assures him. That's not what I'm worried about, Rose. Dave looks around her at you. Where's Solix? I had a vision about Karkat. He was talking to someone, you say breathlessly. He's at the edge, your mother says, pointing to the window. You jump up onto Dave's chests of drawers and peer out through the open window. It started to rain outside, as it so often does around your home. At the edge of your property line, you can see people gathered, but it's hard to tell who through the drizzle. Give me your skateboard, you tell Dave, holding your hand out. That thing is evil, your mother says disdainfully. Yeah, I'm not happy having it here either right now. Here, Dave mumbles and hands it to you. You haul yourself up onto the skylight window ledge and then jump off with the board in hand. You get your feet onto it with your mind focused on where you want to go and the journey there, and the horrible things that happen to your physical form, albeit temporarily, are ones you'd rather not think of. Suffice to say, you jump, you travel, and then you arrive at the edge of the barrier by Solux. On the other side is a magical circle that's projecting the image of several demons. It's not even the demons themselves. You suppose that the barrier might not allow that right now, so a demon conference call is going to be the next best thing. Rose, what's wrong? Solix asks, surprised by your arrival. You pick yourself up off the ground and dust yourself off best you can. You don't do a great job, if you're honest. Well, with the rain, it's more mud than it is dust, but still. I had a vision about Karkat. I think it was the moment he was taken, you say a little breathlessly. The demons projected into the circle perk up. Latula, Red Glare, and Matuna. What did you say? Solix asks eagerly. It wasn't seeing as much, more hearing. I think it was Cthulhu passing his senses onto me directly. Wherever he is, unfortunately, seems to be going cannibalistic, you say with a wince. That's not surprising, Red Glare shrugs. Worrying, though, Latula says. What did you hear? Solix asks. There was a door opening, and Karkat asked who it was. The man, I'm pretty sure it was a man, responded that Karkat should come through the door to him instead of staying with his current host. I assume he meant Cronus. And then he said he was a far better one. Karkat said, and I quote, "Fuck it," and then went through. You explain, and Solix visibly wilts at your words. So we know where he is. Do you really expect us to put out this half-baked order to try to boost this doomed rescue plan? Red Glare asks with a sigh. Yes, I do. Matuna, could you give us a moment? Pass the news on, please? Solix asks hopefully. Latula nods and vanishes, but Matuna hesitates. He's going to be better at getting out of the place than you think. He got down to see you all the time. It's not like this is your one shot to shoot. Matuna reminds him and goes as well. That leaves Red Glare. She folds her arms and looks at Solux sternly. Solux, we've lost at least 2 shards, perhaps a vessel too if your theory about that box is correct. You can't keep denying the reality of the situation. You need a plan. Everyone is aware of how little you are doing to prepare. It undermines your position. Regardless of the authority you serve, it undermines your own. She warns him. My hands are tied, Red Glare. I'm doing all I'm allowed to do. I have a mission for you, though. If that'll persuade you that I'm not just fucking around here. It needs to be secret, too, Solix tells her. I'm listening, Red Glare says, perking up. Airden mentioned giving the heart to Makara, which is pretty concerning since I killed Kurlaws. Could you see if any more of them were made, or if the name repeats with anyone else? Matuna would have known if his Moirail had made anyone, right? Solix says uneasily. Matuna was exiled. He only saw his Moirail when his Moirail visited him. Kurlaws could do whatever he wanted without Matuna around. That said, I don't know enough about him making anyone, or anyone else with his name. I'll look into it. If we've got someone working against you, then we need to know. I'll let you know if I find anything. Red Glare nods and disappears. What was she talking about? A box? The one in the temple? You ask. Yeah, but that's nothing to do with Karkat, and honestly, I'm trying to get him back first. Tell me if you have any other visions, and if you're able to talk to him, then tell him to try to escape out of there and fly back here, Solix says, and then teleports away. You're alone on the lawn now, with the rain misting down on you. June is suspicious, and though you believe with absolute certainty that Solix wants to get Karkat back, and will do anything he can to achieve that, you know that he's in on whatever is going on. You're going to find out the truth. For the first time since you lost your visions, it feels like you're seeing clearly, and you're not going to lose the chance for that. You take your foot off of the skateboard and catch it as it floats up and walk back to the house. As soon as you're indoors, you let the board go. It'll float up to the ceiling, and then if Dave wants it, he can have Solix fetch it. Although, you think given that he just killed a man with a thing, he probably won't be keen on pulling any unreal skating tricks on it for a while. With that done, you head to the library. You have thinking to do. There's a notepad in one of the desks and a pink pen in a drawer. You pull them both out and sit on the desk. It's time to get methodical with this. Assume nothing, go from what you know and work backwards, questioning everything on the way. Then you'll find the truth. The first thing you write down is that June knew what species Karkat was without anyone telling her. You believe Solix's denial that he could tell her at all. If there had been an easy way to get around telling Karkat what he was with the dumb game of charades, you think he would have done that with Karkat right away. It would certainly have saved him a good deal of heartache, and your brother a lot of solidarity-induced sexual frustration at not being able to date him. So, if none of you told her, then June knew some other way. How else might June have known? Well, given that subtlety alluding to Karkat species is off the table, a fact confirmed by Solix, then it can't be that. How else, then, might she have known what Karkat was? Well, you have a few sources for that, so you may as well go ask them. Your mother is, of course, in her lab again, but this time she has the company by way of Terezi, sitting at the desk as your mother is trying to manually dismember a body of the solar system, or a model of the solar system with little luck. What are you doing? You ask warily, as your mother appears to try to pull a small model of the moon away from the little Earth in her solar system. Working on something? She grunts. Try twisting, Terezi advises, and when your mom does so, the moon pops off into her hand. Mom, can I ask how you worked out that Karkat was an angel? You ask. Oh, it's not that hard, she says absently as she looks around through a drawer. Can you elaborate? You ask again. Demons and angels are very similar. I'm very familiar with demons. Besides, I knew Solix had got down with an angel before. He told me once. Then Karkat shows up and he's surviving things he shouldn't do. It was an educated guess, your mom says easily. Before you ask me, I'm a seer. I saw. Terezi chips in. So you only worked it out because the vast amount of supernatural knowledge you've had before, and knowing that Solix had been romantically involved with an angel before that. And then it was still just a guess, you clarify. Your mother makes an affirmative noise and then stands up again, dunking a clear, unlabeled bottle of liquid on the desk. that she'd seemingly recovered from the drawer. "What's that?" you ask, pointing at it. "Moonshine," Terezi says brightly. "What? Mom, no, you're not supposed to be..." You start. "Calm down. It's for magicking with, not for drinking. I made this stuff in a sub-basement sink. It'll taste terrible and probably make you go blind if you drink too much of it," your mom says. Not that you find that especially reassuring. "What?" You start. "Rose, I'm busy," she sighs. It means, "Go away, daughter." You know that one well enough. You leave your mother be, not able to ignore the fact that Terezi was allowed to stay, and return upstairs to your room. The last person that you know who guessed Karkat species was Kanaya. You're not sure how wise it is to talk to her, but you have to. The thing is that though you're offended on Karkat's behalf for how she reacted, it's a lot harder to keep the girl you're more than a little interested in at arm's length when you're not in such an immediately tense situation. Obviously, you're still worried about Karkat, but you're not running around the city with the hellhound tracking his scent. You also get the feeling that Karkat wouldn't demand that you cut her out either. You pause in the hall when you hear voices and realize that the door to Dave's room is ajar. "Should have known something was wrong. That class out of nowhere with Karkat on his own? Stupid," Solix hisses. "Hey, no, it's not weird that we'd have different classes. You had no way of knowing," Dave assures him. "But I should have known about Equius. He creeped me out and I should have listened to that, but no. I should have worked out what was wrong with him," Solix groans. "Dude, he creeped me out too. Just being around him made my skin crawl," Dave reasons. "Yeah, but I know about..." Solix falters. "Yeah, you know stuff and I don't, right?" Dave says tersely. Nope, you are not sticking around to eavesdrop on that." You're not surprised that Solix's outburst from Eridan's apartment has come back to bite him, but you are surprised that it happened at all. It's not as if Dave and Solix really fight much. You slip into your room and gently close the door behind you. It would serve you well to stop thinking about other people's relationship drama and think about your own. Bite the bullet and message Kanai already. Your laptop on your desk calls you to this uncomfortable task. "Hello, Kanaya. I had a question for you, and I was hoping that we might be able to talk." "Oh, Rose, I had started to think that I might not be able to speak with you anytime soon, since you were so adamant on not doing so before." "Yes, I did want to focus in the moment. It didn't feel like the time nor place. Truthfully, I hadn't come to you this time to speak about what happened between you and Karkat, but rather to ask you a question. But then, again, my question is quite entwined with that matter, so perhaps now is a good time for this." "What was your question, may I ask?" "I wanted to know how you were able to solve what Karkat's species was without him telling you." "Is this related to your other friend knowing?" "June, yes. Her story not matching Solix's is concerning. However, the simplest answer is she worked it out and then misremembered the fact. But it seems like the more I learn about this, the less likely that is to me." "Thus, your question to me..." "Yes. You are right in that this is very related to what happened with Karkat. Perhaps it would just be best to discuss the whole matter." "That seems sensible. I shall just state some facts at the start so we are all aware of them, but I would prefer not to discuss this in depth unless there is a good cause. I can handle some axiomatic statements before. Go ahead. Firstly, I'm a vampire, a fact you have made me aware of before. Yes, I do remember that." You press your hands to your face and groan as the power of that cringe-inducing memory takes a hold of you once more. You can just remember opening your dumb mouth and blurting out such idiotic words in front of the most attractive girl you've ever seen. Once more, you wish fervently that Earth might open up and swallow you whole. "I have been around for a number of years, and although I do not feel that way, it does mean that I am familiar with an awful lot of things. Similarly, my mother has lived a long time, but unlike me, she was an adult for some time when she became a vampire, whereas I was only just 19. Excuse me. So even though you've been vampires for the same amount of time, she still has more life experience than you. Yes, and experience with unusual things that I was mostly shielded from. She has prior experience with several angels, and all but one of those was deeply negative for her. I would like to not speak on that. I've come to understand that angels seem mostly undeserving of the good press that they have, and Karkat is somewhat of an exception. Quite. I am a little less experienced, as I have only known one angel, and it was positive, by which I mean to say that, for her, that one positive experience was an outlier. Given what you know of angels, if an angel came to you tomorrow and announced themselves as such, would you trust them or not? Likely not. I would suspect they were trying to get revenge or punish me. There you go. Also, it appeared that Karkat was pretending to be something he was not, which suggested deception, and thus bad intention. Based on that, my mother reacted. She was trying to protect you. Yes, I had Karkat leave, so I could try to clear matters up. When it became clear that he likely knew what my mother had accused him of, it seemed that he had been lying. He He made no effort to contact me after either, and I did not know if that was guilt or what. I told Karkat about giving you space, that pressing you would have seemed aggressive. He felt terrible about it. I also feel terrible, and I don't believe that he had poor intentions. He only just found out himself. I think he was still coming to terms with it. I wish I could have talked to him about it. You feel your ability to hold a grudge fading, and now you're just left feeling sad. Hopefully he will return, and I can. Hopefully. How exactly did your mother know about what Karkat was? That. Really, I should have worked it out too. I have a vague memory of it, but I was just a child at the time. Of what? The vow that he made to you is an angel-exclusive thing in how it presents. Other species make deals or bonds, but that is unique apparently. The angel I knew never made one with me, so I do not really remember it. So Karkat outed himself as clearly as if he'd grown wings in front of you. Yes, but again, if you didn't have this knowledge beforehand, you wouldn't have been able to guess, or your mother would have not been able to. I suppose so. I see. Thank you for this, Kanaya. I need to think about this. But though I'm not happy with what happened to Karkat, I can see why things turned out the way they did. Karkat certainly wasn't holding a grudge before. That is good to know, even if it makes me feel exceptionally sad and guilty to hear. Sorry about that. I'll talk to you later. Or I'll talk again to you later, I suppose, if you want to. That would certainly be lovely, especially on a less loaded subject. Certainly. Well, until then, goodbye. You close your laptop and cover your face with your hands. Well, until then, goodbye? Why? Why would you say that? You whine to yourself. You're not reading a radio play in the 1940s. Why, whenever you talk to Kanaya, do you forget how normal people interact? It's not even like she's here now to throw you off. This is just words on a screen, and your brain is still melted by the sheer concept of this pretty girl. Obviously, she's more than just pretty. You watched her threaten an angel with an unholy chainsaw, and that, well, God, with your hands on your face, you can feel how hot your cheeks are getting. You need to focus. June knew what Karkat was. Couldn't possibly have been told what he was by anyone else. Additionally, it seems that one could only guess the species if there's a good deal of background knowledge on the subject, essentially enough where any other conclusions would seem silly. You doubt you could have just read out a list of random species that Karkat was until you happen to say the right word. The spell likely works on knowledge. June is not a foremost scholar and a world expert in the supernatural, nor is she a seer or a semi-immortal vampire with extensive prior experience with things that only angels can do. So how the hell did June know? If you come at the problem from another angle, you could ask why June wouldn't have said that she knew. If June had some experience with angels that you don't know of, and had guessed, she surely would have said something to Solux, who has been open that he knows just what Karkat is, and can't say. They could have talked about it. She would have said that she also knew but couldn't say. She didn't do that, though, nor was Solux confused that June somehow knew, and only panicked when he realized that he had to come up with some plausible lie when you backed him into it. A lie that June then proved false. Why would Solux cover for June? Why would June know and say nothing? It's suspicious. It's very, very suspicious. You start thinking back over every encounter, but it's hard to remember if June seemed genuinely shocked by each weird non-human thing that Karkat did. You didn't think it was weird in the moment, so you don't think you've really retained that memory. Wait, she knew Karkat's name when she first met him and played it off like some sort of reverse deja vu. That was weird at the time, but you think you just forgot about it. Why would you do that? Rosie, sweetie, you jump as your mother suddenly appears in the doorway with a glass in one hand and a mess of strings and glass baubles in the other. I brought you a drink. Drink this. I just need to hang this up here. Don't take it down, your mother says quickly, pressing the drink into your hand. What is this? You say slowly and sniff the drink. It smells like Coke, and it looks like Coke, but there's something else there, too. It's Coke. Just to say sorry for being a little abrupt with you earlier. Your mom smiles. It's tight and unconvincing. There isn't moonshine or anything in it, is there? You ask suspiciously. I wouldn't give you that. I don't want you to go blind, do I? Honestly. She tuts and starts hanging the other things up from your skylight. It's like a glass mobile held in a specific arrangement with wire and silk thread. You've seen part of her spell for wards in the attic before many years ago. There's a lock of your hair in a glass bauble like that. It works as a physical anchor to exclude you from the spell's defenses. That way, no matter what you do and what you change, or that and what changes she makes to the ward on the house, it never will harm you. What's that for? You ask, pointing at the magical mobile. You mentioned that you were getting your visions back. I think this should boost your ability to see. Perhaps if things are a little more clear, you can find that pesky angel, She smiles. You can do that? You gasp. Hopefully. She nods. Why are you only doing this now? You shout. You've been struggling to get your vision back for years. Things have changed lately. This almost certainly wouldn't have done anything before. But now, maybe don't tell Solix about this, okay? She suggests. You nod a little numbly as you look up at the glass. You'll spill your drink. Come on. Your mom reminds you. In a kind of numb shock, you drain the glass. It absolutely burns on the way down. The carbonation is so strong that it burns your nose too. You cough heavily once you've swallowed the Coke or whatever that was, but your mom just pats your back and then walks off with the glass. Gods, that was... You croak and cough again. Note to self, maybe don't drink weird shit that your mom gives you unless you've seen what is in it in advance. After you get up and you get a drink of water for yourself, you settle back at your desk and click through the news in Salem. As you expected, the news is covering the explosion at the police station. It's being played off as a gas leak, but thankfully everyone got out beforehand and no one was hurt. The report does mention that the police had been suffering from the effects of the gas for a while and are being treated for hallucinations and memory loss that have resulted. That's a clever way to cover for what Cronus did to them. You wonder if the men in suits are some kind of men in black force for the angels. But, no, one of them had that symbol on his lapel, which you can only assume is associated with another god. Heaven doesn't seem like the sort of place where they're happy to outsource things to entities that serve other gods. Who were those strange people in suits, and who was the god depicted in those statues in that tapestry? Your leg bounces for a moment or two as you think, and then, on impulse, you open a message to Kanaya again. Hello, Kanaya. Sorry to message you back so soon. I just wondered if you'd had any thoughts on that tapestry and the statues. One of the symbols on the statues appeared on a lapel pin on one of the men who escorted us out of the police station. Really? Let me get my pictures. Would it be this symbol, as it appears to repeat a lot? Yes, that one. Do you recognize it at all? I cannot say that I do, but I think it may be worth looking into. Can I help at all? If we're looking for a minor deity or a demigod, it could be hard. I imagine it would be, yes, but we can narrow this down. There are plenty of books and online articles regarding gods. It seems... Oh, excuse me. And it seems like this one is connected to storms. Oh, what about that mask? Without more context, that is hard to say, as it could be that the figure participated in or was a patron to the theater performers, or perhaps a more symbolic way of showing a shape-shifting ability or a deceptive nature. Could you send me all the pictures that you took and maybe we can figure out something together? That sounds like an excellent idea. Rather than retreading each other's work, I'll start a Google document and we can compile research. That way we're not reading the same thing over and over. Excellent. Or that sounds like a plan. As it is my forte, I will look into that tapestry. Excellent. I'll send you the invitation in a moment. Wonderful. I must admit that I feel better doing something, even if it is not directly related to helping Karkat. It might prove helpful. We don't know. It's got to be better than just sitting around and doing nothing, though. Agreed. Well, I'll get to it then. Same. You start looking up weather gods online. It's a lot. When you were younger, your mom told you a theory about the gods. Of course, everyone knows about the current leading theory that all creation myths are true, and the worlds created all dovetail into existence as it presently is. However, your mother told you of another theory, a non-linear theory of creation, that the world exists and humanity believes that belief shapes gods, gives life to some, and allows others to wither. A supernatural and holy survival of the fittest. Those who make it become strong enough to have their own start, or be part of a pantheon retroactively. Of course, there's no way to prove such a theory. Even if you could have ever spoken to a god about that kind of thing, there's no certainty they'd ever tell you. It's an interesting idea, though, that a niche exists, and belief fills it, allowing a god to come to prominence. Weather is one of those natural phenomena that everyone experiences. It is changeable, powerful, mysterious, and deeply connected to human survival. No rain and the temperature becomes too hot or too cold. Sudden floods, all these things are inexplicable and potentially fatal. Your crops can wither, your house can be washed away, people dying suddenly. It feels powerful and personal. You can't stop the rain, so people pray. There are more weather-aligned gods, demigods, and entities than you could ever memorize in a lifetime. This is going to be a needle in a haystack, isn't it? However, you have a few helpful starting points. You're looking for someone male with an association to hammers. You can also probably rule out deities that originate in Africa, anywhere in the Pacific Ocean, including Australia, and likely pre-colonial Americas. You're likely looking for European, Asian, or Middle Eastern in origin if you're casting a wide net. Faith tends to spread, and just because you have art that indicates somewhere in Scandinavia doesn't mean that this deity started there. That only leaves you with an approximately 11 bajillion weather gods and other entities. You fidget in your chair, suddenly antsy, but you're determined to focus. You spend several hours fidgeting and working. You're so antsy. When it's time for dinner, you take a break, and you're relieved to find Terezi kindly flew out to the city to get takeout. On the upside, you have fresh, hot New York-style pizza. On the downside, Twitter is freaking out about the dragon flying through Manhattan. Did you see the news about the police station? Dave asks around a mouthful of pizza. Oh, you mean the quote-unquote gas leak? Yeah, you scoff. Oh, what about Equius? Did you see that? He asks. I didn't look. What did they say? You admit, and you feel a little guilty. The guy was murdered and you just let it go. Ongoing investigation. University sends their condolences. Terrible tragedy. He and Darklear were related, too. That's gotta be rough. They're doing a memorial, Dave says softly. God, that's awful. Poor guy didn't deserve that, you whisper in horror. I feel so bad that he creeped me out so much, he says with obvious guilt. It's funny that Dave pretends that he's all cool and aloof when he tends to internalize everything really deeply. You would like to say that you're not prone to overthinking that sort of thing as well, but you'd be lying if you said you weren't just as bad. It's not as if him unsettling you caused this. You didn't do anything wrong, and you couldn't have known this was happening this was going to happen, you assure him. I know that, Dave says half-heartedly. He knows, but he doesn't feel that way. How's Solux? You ask, switching tracks. Better. We talked. He's super stressed, and it's stuff he's magically banned from telling me about, so that's always rough. We're all just worried for Karkat. I've been keeping the feather on my desk this whole time, just waiting for it to move. Solux is watching it right now. I know it's dumb, but... He shrugs. It's dumb, but there's literally nothing else you can do. There's a silence between you two for a little while as you both contemplate Karkat being stuck elsewhere. Wherever he is, he's near to Cthulhu. He reached under a door to listen to the conversation that I heard. You say eventually. I'm not sure how I feel about Karkat escaping some dude who seemingly can lock gods away, Dave says grimly. You're inclined to agree. Over the Atlantic Ocean, meteorologists say. Your head snaps around to the TV, still playing on low volume. You can see a storm on the screen, and maybe it's just all the research you've been doing, but this seems like something to pay attention to. You grab the remote and turn the volume up. That this unprecedented storm is building up alarmingly fast. Current models are somehow unable to predict where this still-growing storm will go, the newscaster explains. Meteorologists have been quick to stress that their models are updating in real time, and as soon as they know where the storm is headed, they will report back on it immediately. A second newsreader explains. You squint at the TV as a thought steals over you. You didn't question why Solux might have those statues and other artifacts in the void. A certain amount of the stuff just seemed to be things he wanted to hold on to personally. The clothes and electronics, for example. Not to mention sentimental things that might be hard to store somewhere else, like the car. There are items that you know Dave has handed Solux over the years, and some things like the collection of swords that you imagine hark back to his times in hell. So why does he have statues and items for God? Solux is pretty anti-authority, but even if he was following orders of the devil himself, then it seems a little odd for him to resort to minor vandalism and theft of religious artifacts from what is seemingly a minor deity. There's petty, and then there's just sad. It doesn't seem like he'd do that. You also can't imagine that he was trying to restore them. What would be the point with all the gods gone? What if you're not looking for a god at all, but rather some primal and powerful elemental force? Death and the other four horsemen aren't gods, but they're powerful nonetheless, and Solux has a connection to those. What if this is storm-related? Could Solux have called in a favor with whoever this man is? This feels like you're grasping at straws. I ask Solux why someone would want to take Karkat. Dave says, clearly not overthinking the things that you are. Let me guess, there was so much that he couldn't tell you that the conversation was basically pointless, you say warily. This whole secrecy thing is starting to really irk you. We got around a lot of it. Solux doesn't know the answer, but he has a few theories. Dave goes on. Okay, hit me, you tell him. Dave stares at you for a second and then kicks you. Naturally, this devolves into a kicking match across the sofa for a minute or two before you both call it off and get back on track. So the first is maybe this guy hates Cronus and taking Karkat was a way to piss him off. Dave starts. Entirely understandable. I also hate Cronus. You nod. Solix said he didn't have any proof for this one, but Karkat's been around a while, so maybe this person who took him owed him a favor, and Solix just doesn't know about it. Dave goes on, gesturing with pizza crust as he talks. But if that was the case, why wouldn't he have come back already, or at least contacted someone? You ask. Yeah, that's what I said. I don't think he's just hanging out with an old buddy. Dave agrees. An enemy, then, you wonder, and Dave grimaces. That is a possibility, too, and a much less pleasant one at that. And then he just sort of went into a panic about the guy who took him trying to use Karkat as a power source for something, and I'm pretty sure he was just getting in some kind of spiral. Dave adds. Yeesh, poor Solux. I suppose we'll have to just wait and hope, you say unhappily. Dave seems about as reassured on this matter as you feel, which is to say, not at all. How is Solux? You ask him, trying to change the subject again. Not great, but I think we're all I killed a guy. Dave laughs a little hysterically. You didn't mean to, you remind him. Solux promised me he'd sleep soon, probably when I go back up. He's been popping in and out and messaging people all this whole time, so he needs to crash, Dave says, not acknowledging what you said at all. That's fair, you nod. I should get back to him, he adds, and hops over the back of the sofa. You nibble on the crust of your pizza and think a bit as you think. You feel antsy, so you jog upstairs and return to your computer. That storm is still playing in your mind, so you pull up some weather sites and do a little digging. It seems that this storm came suspiciously out of nowhere, with none of the usual lead into that sort of thing that's apparently expected. You're not entirely versed on how people manage to predict the weather. Your usual way of predicting the weather is to just open an app on your phone. Who knows how it's done? Still, suspicious storms. Excuse me, let me take a drink of water. We're about halfway through. Excuse me. Kanaya, have you seen about this storm on the news? I wonder if I'm just reaching or seeing things where there's nothing there, but perhaps Solux had those things because he's connected to this deity or force somehow. Perhaps he would ask him to do this. Why would he do that, though? I do not really see how a storm would help anything right now. I suppose not, but I don't know. The idea stuck with me somehow. Maybe it might be worth making a note of, but I really cannot see what you would do with that information now. It's just that it's so sudden and unexpected. Apparently no one saw this storm coming. Not that I really know how they predict them. The old methods are probably best, getting a chicken and reading its entrails like they did when I was a child. I'm not certain if you're joking or not. Your uncertainty is highly entertaining. Now I'm a good deal more certain that you're joking. Or am I? Regardless, I am afraid that I need to excuse myself to join Jade's extended family for dinner, which I have been assured that I do not need to attend given my diet, but I feel I would be a rather poor guest to my gracious hosts if I did not do so. Oh, of course, don't let me keep you. Your gaze drifts over to your bookshelf, where there may or may not be some semi-questionable romance stories that may or may not involve vampires. You should probably ensure that no one ever knows that you have those. Dave, of course, knows, but you have just as much dirt on him to dissuade him from telling. Solux, on the other hand, is harder to blackmail. He has no shame. Still, you're managing to have conversations with Kanaya, and now it's not so stressful. Likely because you have a common goal in mind, and you're not just talking to her because you think that she's beautiful. You can try to focus on the subject at hand for something to say, rather than risking embarrassing yourself. The rest of your evening passes with you researching. You become acquainted with many myths around weather-based gods, but nothing seems to fit at all. When midnight passes, you figure that it may be best to sleep on it and try again in the morning, working with fresh eyes, as it were. You still feel antsy and highly strung even as you wash your face and brush your teeth. As you turn out your light and you get into bed, you can't help but toss and turn under the covers. It feels like your heart is racing, and sleep feels like the very last thing that's going to happen. After an hour of facing one way or the other, flipping your pillow over repeatedly, trying breathing exercises and the like, you eventually give up and get out of bed. You walk around the house, get a glass of milk from the kitchen, stretch, and return to bed. You're still too wired to sleep. Actually, you've been on edge all evening, haven't you? It's not just the idea of looking for Karkat, but you feel physically jittery, like you've down 10 coffees or energy drinks or... What was in that drink your mom gave you? Another hour of not sleeping, you resolve to not take drinks from magically inclined women who was no doubt trying to give you energy to research, but lacked common sense to moderate her potions. You try swimming to tire you out and then sleeping. It doesn't work. You try calm movies. It doesn't work. You spend an hour chatting with Solux over Trollian as you send each other links to things. But no, you can't sleep. By daybreak, you've given up so much that you're just back to researching. You're exhausted and you wish you could sleep, but it's not happening. In your tiredness, you just Google unexplained storm and click on the first thing you see. Last night, an unexplained storm hit the eastern and central regions of the country, which seemed to have served as a perfect cover for a flash mob, destroying statues and other iconography in graveyards. You lift your head off of your hand and frown at the screen. This was from the beginning of the school year. You figured at the time that Solux was destroying these statues of his ex under the cover of the storm, but the storm had come out of the blue, hadn't it? You go back to the Google search results and see that it's also pulled up the storm that battered Japan, right when Solux was there looking for this mysterious shard. First storm, Solux destroys statues of his ex. Second storm covers for what he was doing in Nara. This storm, who knows? You feel more awake now, but you don't know what to do with this information. You feel like you have a good number of puzzle pieces, but you have no idea what the picture on the box is or how many bits you're missing. It also should be noted that correlation doesn't imply causation, even when it really feels like it does. You don't know yet how or if this relates to the statues, or if this is just your stressed and sleep-deprived mind finding connections that aren't there. You may well look at all of this when you have next had a night's sleep, and you think it's all the work of a crazy person. It's probably best that you don't share this with Kanaya just yet. There's also no point in talking to Solux. If you say he is involved in whatever this is, then he's unlikely to crack and tell you everything, and if he's not, then he's just going to think you're deranged. The day wears on and your exhaustion weighs you down. As you come to midday, you're reduced to laying boneless on your bed in the hope that going still on your bed will somehow give you rest by just how it's vaguely close to sleeping. The sunbeam from your window slowly shifts enough that the light is shining in your eyes through the new and glittery glass mobile that your mom put up. Moving is too much effort, so you simply close your eyes and stay there. You're tired. So tired, sleepy and drifting. You reach your hand across the small and dainty table, careful of the tea set. You take her hand in yours. There has to be some other way, you tell her. The woman looks away. Her long red eyelashes sweep gracefully as she lowers her gaze. With a sigh, she takes her hand back. I can't. As long as he lives, I have to stay here, she says unhappily. Yeah, that would be slavery and false imprisonment. You don't have to take that. We can find a way to all escape, you insist. Not me, she says with a shake of her head. Damara, you whisper sadly. No, I have to stay, but you don't. You need to ignore what he says when he finally talks to you. He is not on your side, she insists. I generally assume that people who lock me up aren't. You snort and lean back in your chair. This room is so green. Everything is so green. You also need to avoid the try and crowbar. Thunder rolls and jerks you awake. Above you, rain is beating down on your window and the sky is almost black. Dave sticks his head around your door and gestures upwards. That came on so fast, he exclaims. What? You mumble, rubbing your face with your hand. Were you dreaming? You look at your hand. It's not the same hand you had a moment ago. I think I was having a vision, you breathe in shock. Wait, really? What did you see? Dave asks and walks over to sit at the edge of your bed. I think I was Carcat. He was in a green room talking to this woman. She wasn't human, but I don't know. It's slipping away from me. You groan and rub your face. You feel groggy, like you've been woken up at the wrong point in your sleep cycle. Is he okay? Dave asks worriedly. You run the memory of your vision through your mind once more. I think he was trying to encourage someone else to escape with him. The woman he was talking to. He was worried about her. You say slowly. That sounds like Carcat. He could be trying to escape himself, but you know he's not going to leave other people behind, Dave groans. Lightning flashes so bright that you blink away spots from your vision, and the thunder rumbles almost immediately after. This is some storm, and you're just going crazy about it. It's over the whole ocean, Dave says in awe as he looks up at the skylight. Rain is coming down so hard on your skylight that you're almost having trouble hearing Dave. We're getting a lot of unexplained storms. That night where all the statues got broken, the one that hit Japan with clowns, this, you say, and lightning and thunder strike again. It can't be later than the afternoon, but as that strike hits, the power dies, plunging your room into darkness that you could only charitably describe as twilight levels of light. That's fantastic. I'm thrilled about this, Dave says, entirely deadpan. Kids, your mom shouts from downstairs. We're fine, Mom, Dave shouts back. The two of you leave your room. It's not wholly unusual for the power to be knocked out in an incredibly big storm. The house is its own private generator thanks to the vast amount of weirdness that this property has, and it can be a little finicky at times. You wouldn't say it's incredibly frequent, but it happens a few times in the year. Dave flicks his phone light on and leads the way down the stairs to your mom and Terezi. She's currently blowing a fire over the gas-powered fireplace in the main room. It catches with a whoop and illuminates the room with warm, flickering light. Where's Solux? He's on the property, your mom asks. My room. Last time I saw him, Dave answers. We'll go get him, you say and pull Dave away. Your mom seems calm now, but the power going out tends to put her on edge, as if it's a sign of an impending attack on the house. It's better and easier if you can find Solux and prove that none of you have been attacked. The generator tends to come back on by itself, so you can all just stick together and wait it out. Dave's room, however, is empty. Good job watching this, Dave mutters and picks Karkat's feather up from off the desk. It's motionless right now, but that's not the point. Solux, you call out over the pounding rain on the skylight. Man, where are you? Dave mutters and sticks his head out the door and peering down the hallway. You look upwards at the rain on the skylight and jump when something flicks over it. You keep staring and see it again, a flick of gray. With a quick smack to Dave's arm, you point upwards as the tip of one of Solux's tails trails over the skylight. Dave heaves a sigh and tosses his phone and shades on the bed. Then he hops up onto his chest of drawers and pops the skylight open, leaving you to clamber up after him. The rain plasters your hair to your head in an instant, and Solux is no better. Water is dripping off of every part of him as rain drenches him entirely. You're stunned that he's out here. Normally he detests the cold and the rain. Solux's brows are furrowed in concentration. He's bent over slightly with his elbows on his knees and his legs crossed. His hands are clasped together around something, and he's mumbling so quietly that you can't hear him over the rain. Sol, are you okay? Why are you out here? Dave shouts over the rain. Solux keeps mumbling, and you and Dave share a worried look. Dave hauls himself out onto the ledge of the skylight and reaches for his moirail. Before he can touch Solux, all of the demon's eyes snap open and he stares at the sky. Wind whistles in the trees, and a gust of wind blows so strongly that you grab onto Dave out of fear that he might fall off of the roof. Then in the distance, there's a flash and a distant rumble. All at once, the rain stops. The wind stops, and the clouds clear like a time-lapse footage. Something searingly bright blue streaks up through the sky like a comet in reverse. Solux is staring unblinkingly at it, still whispering, almost chanting over and over. What is that? Dave breathes as he stares up at the streaking light, too. It's going up and up, higher and higher still. In your vision with Karkat, everything was green, and the dream you shared with Karkat before, the moon was huge in the sky and it was green. Solux freaked out when you talked about the moon before, but it was nothing to do with the moon landing, was it? It's the moon. Karkat's on the moon, you say slowly. Solux's words catch, and his gaze snaps away from the sky to you. I'm right, aren't I? You ask him challengingly. Solux opens his mouth to answer, only to be cut off by a blinding flash from above. Solux scrambles to his feet, staring upwards as the light fades. His phone rings and he answers it without looking. Yeah, I saw. Do you know where? Yeah, okay. Thanks anyway. Really, later. Solux hangs up with a miserable look on his face. Solux, what was that? Tell me, Dave urges. A rescue attempt. Didn't work though. I have to go. Solux answers, and then he's gone. Dave stares in shock at the spot that Solux had just been a second ago, and then looks at you. What the hell was that? What did you mean about the moon? Dave asks. That dream I had with Karkat that night. The moon, it was huge and green. It was the same in one of Karkat's other dreams as well, and the vision I just had, everything in it was bright green. Karkat's somewhere magically powerful that Solux can't get to. It just made sense, you tell him, and duck back inside. Your hair and shirt are both soaked. That's kind of a leap, but it's not like anything you said doesn't make sense in a way, Dave admits, and pulls the skylight closed after him as he comes inside through the house again. You both look like someone tried to drown you. The light flickers and comes back on, as quickly as the storm came and is gone once more. Supernaturally fast, one might say. What the hell was that? Dave asks as he ducks into the bathroom and grabs a towel for his hair. I wish I knew exactly, but it was highly suspicious. I'm going to look online and see what the news outlets are saying. I may also go change my clothes first. You add that last part with a wince. You can feel everywhere that your shirt is sticking to your skin. Dave makes a noise of agreement from below the towel that he's scrubbing over his head, so you leave him to that. You change into something clean and dry back in the privacy of your own room and carefully twist your own hair up in a towel specifically for that. It's no longer so dark in the room now, and the late afternoon sunlight is once more shining through your skylight, glittering through your mother's newly installed mobile. The moon, You sit on the bed and stare at the glittering glass mobile, filled with light and... Jesus Christ, what was that? You yelp. You pull open the door to your room that you've been left in and hurry out into the hallway. The building shakes again with some ominous rumbling. You run, lost and uncoordinated, but soon enough you find a window. You lean against the ledge and stare out. The sky is pitch black except for streaks and waves of cobalt blue scorching the air and above the green city. It's like a monochromatic and terrifying northern lights. Breathlessly, you stare out at the green city and beyond its barren whiteness with a pure black sky. Behind you, a door creaks open and you spin around on the spot, your heart leaping into your throat with fear. There's an old man peering around you, a gap in the door. He looks like he could be 90 years old. "Hello?" you say in a whisper, and the man cringes back slightly. "Hey, no, I won't hurt you. Are you okay? What are you doing here?" you ask gently, trying to keep your voice soothing. "What are you doing here?" he asks back in return. "A man with a big, round, white head brought me here," you tell him. You're not sure how else to describe your host. "Scratch," the old man whispers. His eyes dart around, but he opens the door wide enough to allow you admittance. You step into the room and see there's another old man here. Both of them are wearing white bodysuits, and there's actual space helmets on the nearby green dresser. Your jaw drops as you work out their age, where you are, and who these men are all at once. "You're Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong, aren't you? This is the moon," you whisper in awe. The two old men exchange a look and nod. "I'm Karkat Vantis. I came here from Earth through a lot of, magic fuckery. There must be a way to get you two back to Earth," you say desperately. "He's never letting us go. He only needed to send one person back to get the message across that no one should come here," one of the men says. You don't know if it's Buzz or Neil. "Well, fuck that. I'm getting you out of here as soon as I work out how to get out of here myself. I won't leave you behind," you promise them. The door you came in through bangs open and reveals an angry-looking green man. He's wearing a green tuxedo suit and a green top hat with a prominent 6 displayed on it. He stuffs his hand into his jacket and pulls out a pin. Both Buzz and Neil gasp and shuffle back even more. "You shouldn't be here," the green man hisses at you. "Hey, I was just looking around. No one told me anything was off limits, and I've not seen the guy running this place since I got here, so..." "Whoa!" you jerk back when the green man whips a small doll out of his jacket. It's very plainly meant to be you. It even has a glittery white wings on the back. Do what Dice says. Those voodoo dolls are real," one of the astronauts advises you in a hushed whisper. Voodoo doesn't actually use... Your explanation about voodoo dolls is cut off by a horrible pulling sensation on your back. Dai is glaring at you as he pulls on one of your doll's wings, making pain bloom in your back right where your wings are attached when you have them out. Okay, you gasp, and he lets the doll's wings go. Dai steps away from the door and stares at you. "I won't leave you behind, or I won't leave you here," you promise under your breath as you shoot one last look at the two old astronauts. Without much other choice, you leave the room, walking past Dai to do so. When you're out, he leaves with you, shutting the door to the room the astronauts are in, and then marches you back to your own room. As soon as you're inside, he slams the door and shuts behind you. A plan is starting to form in your head. You need to get out of here. If Damara can't come with you, then you can at least rescue the astronauts. You don't need to breathe, but they do, and you're going to assume that you can fly in space. As Solix put it before, the wings aren't strictly what makes you fly. It's not just a physical thing, but a magical one, too. There has to be some way you can protect them and get them back to Earth, as well as yourself. You're tempted to call Solix, but what if you trapped him up here, too? No, you can handle this by yourself. All you need to do is work out the math for how much air those men need, and how fast you'll need to travel to get them back to Earth in time. You don't know jack shit about any of that, but you bet Buzz and Neil know enough about those things to help you. You'll just need to get back there at some point without getting caught. You feel a plan coming together, all right? Your eyes flicker open. It's just dark now, and there's a familiar glow in your room, a bicolored glow. You push yourself up on your elbows and look around dazedly to see Solux on your desk chair with Karkat's feather on it. "You're back," he says, sounding tired. "Where's Dave?" you ask, and scrub your eyes with your hands, immediately regretting it when you see mascara transferred onto them. "Damn it." "Dinner," Solux answers simply. "I saw Karkat," you tell him. Solux sighs, shuts his eyes for a moment, and then nods. "Tell me," he asks. "He's on the moon. He found Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong locked up there, and some woman named Mara. There was a green man with a top hat, using a doll to force Karkat to leave them alone. I saw some sort of blue northern lights being deflected off of the green city, which I suppose is whatever that thing you were trying to do not working," you explain. "It wasn't really me. I was just helping," Solix answers you warily. "None of this seems especially surprising to you," you point out. Solix shrugs one shoulder, a little apathetic. "I didn't know all of it, but none of it is massively surprising," Solix says with a sigh. "You don't seem pleased that I'm seeing again. You don't seem happy about it at the cafe or at Jade's," you say, trying not to sound like you're accusing him of anything, but it still does sting. "I am, and I'm not," Solix says, and pinches the bridge of his nose. That doesn't really tell you much, does it? Imagine that it's your birthday, and you do those floating candle things, where you light the candle and the lantern and it floats off and looks all pretty, Solix says, and looks at you again. "Those ones notorious for causing forest fires," you ask. "Yeah, this is like that. I'm happy it's your birthday and you're doing something cool, but I'm really aware that we live in a forest and I'm worried everything is going to catch fire. That's sort of how this is," he tells you. You can kind of understand that. Solix has been friends with you for ages, and he knows how badly you wanted your second sight back. He wouldn't act like this without reason, and you believe his conflict in this situation. "Karkat's working on an escape plan," you tell him. "Yeah?" Solix asks. "He's considering flying back here from the moon. Can you do that?" you ask. "He doesn't need atmosphere to fly. I've raced him out of the atmosphere of Earth before. Not as far as the moon, but enough to know he can do it. He kicks my ass when it comes to speed." Solix's smile is fond as his fingertip just touches the edge of Karkat's feather on the desk. Don't tell him that," Solix says hastily, seeming to realize what he just said. "I'm sure I don't know what you mean. I remember nothing incriminating." You smile. Looking at the unmoving feather on the desk, you suppose that the moon must be a physical place, but also its own pocket of reality. It's not wholly unusual. There are places where fey realms intertwine with this one, and those spots are tied to physical locations. The moon is a place of great magical importance. It makes sense it would be like that. You wish you could ask Solux about what he was doing on the roof, but given that it was connected to the storm, you suspect he either won't or can't tell you. "I wish I could do more than just watch what he's doing. I wish I could help," you say quietly. "Yeah," Solux agrees. One of his claws brushes the edge of the feather, tracking up and down. "When I was in the void, I saw that car," you say, and Solux pauses. "There was a little feather in it. Well, I say little. It was still this big." You laugh and hold your hands out to show the length of it. "I guess I forget sometimes that you two had this whole relationship and history before this year, and you were carrying around that car that the two of you obviously had been in together. It must have been really hard without him," you say softly. "It's not like I didn't go looking for him after the event, but things were different. He wasn't where I thought he might be, and I had so much to do right after it. Karkat's capable of looking after himself. He's been around longer than me, But I looked and I couldn't find him, so I thought he'd gone back up there to deal with things, or his maker had called him back because of all the chaos." Solix explains. "You can call up demons, though. Mom used to do it all the time. Couldn't you have called him?" You wonder. "It doesn't work like that with them. We're trying to have contact with people to tempt them. We're obligated to answer if people call in the right way. Angels don't give a fuck. Even if I had a feather or some way to initiate contact, can you imagine what would have happened if I'd spun that roulette wheel? Connect to him right in front of his maker, or anyone higher than him? Hell, anyone lower than him either? They'll all snitch up there." Solix sneers. His contempt for pretty much all angels is quite clear. "Angels don't get prayers?" you ask in surprise. "Well, sort of. Technically they all go to, Solix says, waving hands upward. "God?" you ask. Solix wrinkles his nose, but nods. Right, but it's sort of a disseminated out across angels and they discuss things. If you're a person of interest, then you'll get direct line to your case manager, I guess. For the most part, things go up there like a contact us form on a website. A person prays and it goes up there. Maybe Karkat could stumble across it and find a way to sneak off and help if he could. Or, which he did more than he was supposed to. But you couldn't pray to Karkat specifically. No direct holy email address. More of a to whom it may concern. Solix explains. But if I'd wanted to contact you specifically, I could do that, as well as just casting out for anyone who happened to answer. You nod. We have a much better system. Solix nods. That sucks. You sigh. Yeah, although, even if they did have the same system, we'd be banned from it. We're banned from submitting prayers. We kinda got an IP banned millennia ago for spamming the shit out of heaven, Solix says with a grin. That sounds fair. I'd have abused that system too. Are you banned from every god? You ask curiously. We might be the same, but not all. No one's calling up Thor like, hey, we can totally outdrink you, pansy, come fight me. I'd bet no one else listens to us because of, well, everything about demons, but we don't care enough about other gods to piss them off that bad. Solix shrugs. An idea forms in the back of your mind. So you could pray to another god. Sincerely, I mean. You ask him innocently. Yeah, wouldn't normally have any reason to. Speaking of higher powers, I did promise your mom that I'd tell you to go eat when you woke up, Solix says, subtly shifting the conversation. Right, of course. Thank you, Solix. Keep an eye on that feather, would you? You remind him. Solix nods and waves you off as you leave the room. What Solix was doing on that roof looked an awful like a prayer to you, praying to a storm. Given how often weather events have aligned with things he's involved in, you can't help but feel more and more sure that Solix is tangled up with this storm god. As the days pass, several things become clear. First is that no angels are hanging around to attack any of you, and Solix has concluded that either they haven't noticed that Cronus and Aridin are dead, or they consider it a fair, given that they were likely acting without authorization. Or the final option is that they're still deliberating on what to do, and you'll probably die of old age before they work that out. The second thing you've noticed is that every meteorologist going is confused as hell about what happened with the storm. It came out of nowhere, became ocean-wide, and then some in no time at all, and then instantly cleared. More than that, awful lot of people said that the light they saw come from the storm looked like something going from Earth upwards into the sky. Explanations have ranged from very weird lightning, weird interactions between the storm and some upper layers of the atmosphere, or just straight-up denial that anything was there. Needless to say, the internet is awash with conspiracy theories, and some people are even wondering if this is perhaps a sign that the gods are returning. Out of amusement, you did a trend search on Google, and all the things you've been searching for storm gods have massively spiked in search traffic. On top of all of that, it becomes apparent is that your visions only happen during the day now, usually only in direct sunlight, and they're clearest when you're underneath that mobile your mother made. You've seen Karkat talking to Damara a few times. It's pretty plain to you that she isn't wildly enthused about talking to Karkat, but he's being friendly in a hard-to-ignore way that he often does, and you think he's winning her around. He's also talking to the astronauts, and they've told him roughly how big of a bubble they'd need to have given a number, or to have a given number of hours of air. They also still have oxygen tanks that they turned off when Scratch abducted them, so they have extra time in there. You're also starting to get a feel for when you have a vision coming on, enough to get yourself settled on bed in the sunshine. You close your eyes against the warm light and think that you kind of get why Solix enjoys sunning himself so much in the beams of light that go through your library. You sit on the provided bed that's wildly uncomfortable and try to focus. You need to protect those astronauts. They've been here so long and suffered enough. You're not going to let them suffocate and explode in space. You really hope that you won't explode in space or freeze to death, but you'll deal with that when you get there. You push the barrier around you out, but it's really hard to form when you're not actively doing it to protect anyone. The door handle turns, startling you and ruining your connection. It's not any of the leprechauns that you've come to know as the Felt. Rather, it's someone you're much more pleased to see. Damara, you say brightly and get to your feet. He wants to see you now, Damara says glumly. Scratch? You ask in a whisper and she nods. Right. You nod and walk to the door. You don't know where you're going, so you can only assume she'll lead you there. Damara hesitates at the doorway and then looks at you, biting her lip. Do you really want to get me out of here? She asks. Of course I do. It's evil as fuck for him to keep you locked up in here and trapped. You insist. If you do what he says, then I'll be stuck here forever. But if you just change one thing about this whole place, it'll be destroyed, and everyone trapped here can leave, me included, Damara says and catches you by the hand. She holds them between you, your hands held in hers, and she looks at you imploring in the eye. I mean, fuck this place, you know? What do I have to do? You ask. There's a clown on Earth, not a... He's sort of a demon. Scratch will tell you to leave him alone. Run away, let him do whatever, but you have to destroy the clown. He's evil, Damara urges you. Kill someone? But how even find some demon clown in the first place? Which, by the way, is the worst thing I've ever said. You say with a grimace. He'll be looking for you, Damara hisses. Well, that's horrible. She jerks up straight and starts to pull you down the hallway. Not a word, she whispers as she brings you to a door. She knocks twice and then opens it, swinging the door inwards and gesturing you for you to go inside. Please do come in, a voice comes from the inside. The look Damara shoots you inside is one filled with loathing, and you can't leave her here without trying to help. You squeeze her arm and nod, and then step inside the door. Carcat Vantas, so sorry that I couldn't meet with you sooner. I'm afraid I'm having quite a few troubles with some of my more unruly guests at the moment. Rather took up my time and unfortunately ruined my shirt. A voice comes from behind a folding screen. Oh, you say. What could you say to that? Please, do have a seat and help yourself to some of those little treats in a bowl if you're so inclined. I'd hate to be a bad host, the man says. You eye the little table. It's a dark green with pale lime doily on it, and a jade bowl with little black dog candy-shaped things. You've heard more than enough stories about eating food in other realms and getting stuck in there to take him up on that offer. You do sit down, though, just to be polite. On the safe side, you're going to go by the rules of etiquette that you would do for a full-blooded fae trying to trick you. Don't say anything that counts as an agreement to a contract. Don't put yourself in their debt by admitting wrong. Asking for favors or forgiveness. Be smart. I do appreciate you taking me away from Cronus, but I'm pretty curious to know how you did that, you ask carefully. A green shirt is tossed over the changing screen, and you can see that it's torn to ribbons. Well, I have my ways of seeing things, and I'm quite handy with getting access to places. But I did want to speak to you specifically, so really, this has worked out for me quite well, he says. The man steps out behind the screen, buttoning his cufflinks. You were expecting to see it, but that large, perfectly round white head is still jarring. Right, what was that the other day? The thing that caused all the shaking in the blue light, you ask quickly. An uninvited guest, Scratch says with a note of displeasure. Right, okay. You said you wanted to talk to me, and, I don't actually know you. The event on Earth took away a lot of my memories, all of them, actually. I don't know if you know about that. So if we've met before, I don't remember, you say, ever so careful not to say sorry. Scratch adjusts his bow tie in the mirror and makes a thoughtful noise. No, we've never met. I just know who you are. I needed to have a chat with you about... Scratch turns to you and freezes. He doesn't have a face, so you don't know how you can tell, but you feel the very distinct sensation of a frown come to him. Sorry about this, but you have something on you that you shouldn't, he says slowly. Oh, what? You say in surprise. You can't think of anything you have on you that you shouldn't. You've not been wandering around this place, stealing things. Scratch reaches out, one deceptively strong hand closing in on your shoulder. Stay still, he tells you. His other hand reaches for your face. You try to pull back as his thumb moves to your eye. You squeeze your eyes shut out of reflex as his thumbs press into the corner of your eye, like you might do if you were trying to get sleep out of it when you've just woken up. There you are, Scratch says, and you screech, clapping your hands to your eyes and flailing off of the bed. You shudder and manage to not lose your lunge at the sensation of someone's physical being inside of your second sight. Shaking, you get to your feet and stumble to your mirror. You stare back at your own face and grimace to see that your eyes are unbelievably bloodshot. You tug your bottom eyelid down to your left eye and hiss at just how red they are. It's like you've not slept in a week, and then use straight chlorine for eye drops. They sting too, enough that your eyes are watering. You take a step back towards your bed and grimace at the awful smell. It's like nail polish remover and horrible vodka. As you look up, you see the mobile your mom made you has shattered. That's moonshine on your bed, and there on the ground is the tiny model of the moon from the solar system she was taking apart before. She made you a focus to see what was going on all the way up on the moon. A thud of sprinting footsteps reaches your ears, and quick as anything, Dave skids around the door. What happened? Are you okay? He asks, obviously alarmed. He must have heard you yelling earlier. Where's Solux? You ask him, and roll the small model of the moon between your fingers. Oh, sure, I haul ass across the house to check that you're okay, and the first thing you say is, where's Solux? I see how it is. Dave huffs. He's playing up his hurt, but you can tell he's actually a little offended. He's just covering it with fake offense because he's Dave. Sorry, I just had questions for him about the man on the moon, you say thoughtfully. Fine, he went off somewhere, but I'll message him, Dave grumbles and takes his phone out. He types for a little while, and then Solix appears in a flash of blue and red. What happened on the moon? Solix asks you in a rush. God, I'll just go. I'm so not needed here, Dave says, throwing his hands in the air and walking off. Solix hesitates but doesn't follow. I saw Scratch, but worse, he saw me. I was watching through Karkat's eyes, and he literally scratched me out of there. It broke the connection, and look at my eyes. You tell him, and he lean in to show him. They're nearly as red as mine. Pretty concerning that he caught you, though. I'm not sure if you'll be able to get to see Karkat now when he's there. He's probably going to be blocking your connection, Solix says grimly. I'll see about that, you tell him stubbornly. You do that. I'm gonna go find Dave, soothe his bruised ego, Solix says with a roll of his eyes. You've always been jealous about how much more effective eye rolling is when you have 4 of them. You touch your own still stinging eye and immediately regret it and curse loudly because you still had moonshine on your fingers. Rose, Solix calls. I'm fine, nothing happened, you shout back. Oh, God, that hurts. Your dear mother is understandably concerned about Scratch seeing you and agrees with Solix's assessment that your own psyche will likely now be banned from his realm as Solix is physically. She suggests that you just have to hope that Karkat can escape on his own. The reassuring nature of your talk is somewhat overshadowed given that it happens by poolside and you're watching Terezi swim through the water with miniature dragon wings as she manages to splash water everywhere. You're not good at sitting idly by and just hoping. You pass the time as best you can by messaging Kanaya, updating each other on the progress of your research. You even end up doing some of your homework because you're so desperate for a distraction. Days pass this way with you, Dave, and Solix passing Karkat's feather off to each other so someone is always watching it, but it doesn't move. Until it slowly starts to drift up off your desk. You stare in utter shock as it floats up past your eyes. The feather! You shriek at the top of your lungs. You hear a thump across the hall as Dave and Solix trip over each other in haste to get to you, but moments later they're hurrying through the door together. Look, just look! You say desperately, waving your hand above you as the feather floats up to the ceiling. You beautiful bastard, you actually did it! Solix hisses in glee and floats up in the air. He snags the feather from your ceiling and zips out of the door. You and Dave hurry downstairs as Solix flits into your mother's lab. There's a spell already inked out on the floor, just waiting for when Karkat would get back onto this plane of existence. Solix pins the feather to the edge of the circle and with his hands enchants. The ink on the floor lights up, and the globe within the circle starts to spin. A second passes and the globe freezes in place, a white light slowly moving through the air towards it. There you are, Solix whispers as he leans in close. Where's he going to land? You ask and crouch down. I swear if he ends up in Georgia, we'll hear the scream from here. Dave snorts and Solix snickers in amusement. It would be just like Karkat's luck to end up there, wouldn't it? Based on how he's going, he's in atmospheric conditions, speed of the earth, carry the 2. He's going really fucking fast, and I think we're looking at the western United States, unless he misses and hits the ocean. Solix says he runs a claw over the globe, as if you can't identify the west without his help. The 3 of you watch as the light that indicates Karkat gets closer, and when it starts getting right over Nevada, Solix breaks the spell. He sets one hand on your shoulder and one on Dave's, and just like that, you're gone. You appear on a suburban but deserty street with cacti, palm trees, and green lawns grown with sprinklers in stubborn defiance. Solix holds Karkat's feather by the very tip of the quill and allows the rest of the feather to angle itself in the right direction. Thus begins the Angel edition of the Hotter Colder game. The 3 of you teleport all over the place trying to pin Karkat's location down, but soon enough you can see him hurtling towards Earth in a ball of fire. He speeds overhead and Solix has to once more teleport you further along to find him. The crater in the ground is sizable, and as far as you can tell, you're in the middle of fucking nowhere desert, although perhaps Karkat was trying to avoid hitting anywhere populated. Karkat! You shout and sprint towards the edge of the crater. I've never seen him land that bad, Solix mutters. What the? Dave whispers as he stares down into the crater. Aside from the melted rock, several immolated cacti, and other signs of Karkat's crash, the crater contains 2 men, 2 fully suited astronauts. One shakily pushes himself up on one arm, and then flicks his helmet open, showing a face you recognize from looking through Karkat's eyes. We're on Earth, the man, Neil, you think, says in awe. His wrinkled face crumples in relief and joy, and he openly sobs as the other astronaut is wrestling his helmet off. It's very touching, but there's no Karkat here. You jump into the crater, not caring about how hot some of the melted rocks may be at the edge. You skid and stumble your way to the astronauts. "Where's Karkat?" you demand, and both men stare at you. "Karkat, the guy who rescued you. He flew here. Where is he?" you shout. Dave and Solix jump in after you, and Solix lets the feather in his hand go. It floats for a second before drifting forward on a breeze that isn't there. It slides through the air until it gets to the far side of the crater, where several small rocks have slid down. You pull them loose until you see a flash of white. Ever so carefully, you take one more rock away, and something tiny and white falls down. Out of reflex, you catch it, and you see in your hands is the smallest snow-white hummingbird you've ever seen. "Fucking moron," Solix groans. "What? Why is he a bird?" you ask. He's not even the size of your thumb. "Because I bet instead of shielding himself as he landed at however many thousands of miles an hour he protected these two and then ate dirt at speed. He's a throne. They're hard to kill, but that'll about do it. That's as close as he can get without losing his body and still stay down here. It's the same thing as when I was a snake for a while." Solix groans. "That's fucked up and weird, but I think we should go now," Dave says tightly. "What?" you ask, still holding the Karkat bird in your hands. His enchanted feather is poking you in the back of the hand, trying to get him. "See those lights in the distance? That'd be military because Area 51 is apparently that away according to Google. Not that I know why that's on Google Maps," Dave says, pointing over the edge of the crater to what you can indeed see is approaching lights over the horizon. "Yeah, give me a second," Solix says slowly and walks towards the two astronauts who are getting to their feet. "I think I pretty clearly explained that we don't really have a second to give right now," Dave says in an exasperated tone. In your hands, Karkat's tiny bird form shifts and his wings flutter, scraping your hands as he does so. "Careful, you'll get hurt," you warn him gently, not wanting to scare him. Solix saunters over to the astronauts and comes to a stop before them. "That guy that just saved your lives, do you know who he is?" Solix asks. "Karkat Vantis, where?" one of the astronauts starts. "Great, he gave you his last name too, idiot. Do you know who I am?" Solix asks. You suppose that you had a run in shouting Karkat's first name, but seemingly Karkat had told them more than that. You think you remember that, maybe? The two astronauts share a look and shake their heads. "Ah, well," Solix says lightly and starts to grow bigger and bigger. His body starts to grow spikes and glows in an ominous fashion. He grows until he's doubled their height and looms over them in a monstrous way. Quickly, as a flash, he has both astronauts floating in the air, bound in psionic power. "I am the demon who will hunt you down and drag you into hell if you so much as think about telling anyone about Karkat. In fact, unless both of you swear to me now that you'll never mention Karkat, then you'll find out that I am so much worse than Scratch. I won't just lock you up in a room for years." Solix groans, his voice deep and feral. In your hands, Karkat flutters harder, and you have to carefully cage your hands around him to stop him escaping. You suppose that he might not approve of Solix threatening two very elderly astronauts who have obviously been through a lot. "You will never mention Karkat's name to anyone, or provide enough description that anyone could work out who he is. Swear," Solix snarls, holding out a giant clawed hand. The two terrified astronauts swear and are bound by Solix's deal immediately, and he goes back to his normal form. "I'd say you have maybe 2 minutes to think up a story about how you got here that doesn't involve him. Good luck with that," Solix says casually and saunters back to you and Dave. "Was that really needed?" Dave asks with exasperation. "Do you want the government tracking him down? No, come on," Solix says and puts a hand on your shoulder and then on Dave's, and then in a flash, you're back at home. A sigh of relief escapes you ever so carefully, and you open your palms up. Karkat's tiny bird body is cradled in your palms, his wings tucked against his back, and his short tail feathers spread up your palm. Dave peers over your shoulder to see him. "He's a tiny hummingbird, just like Solix was a snake. It's wow," Dave says in awe. Yeah, I'm gonna try to get him something to drink that'll help. He's not going to have an easy time with it as I did," Solix says distractedly as he types on his phone. How do you mean?" Dave asks. "No maker to lend him power. His side is all MIA. Having you two around will help. You just gotta feed him," Solix answers. In your hand, Karkat clumsily moves over your finger, tripping over one in an effort to climb, but he eventually gets to the edge. "Like flowers and stuff? Wait, can he understand us right now?" Dave asks. "You could do that, but I mean feed him things that he's made of, the things he was made from. If you do that around him, it'll help him recover," Solix explains and pockets his phone. But we don't know what those things are. We'd only see that if he died, you point out. Right, but you can guess. Be a self-sacrificial idiot. Throw yourself at every charity case going. Feel immediately guilty about everything. Be stupidly obsessed with trash romance movies. And hey! Solix starts talking as Karkat launches himself out of your hand with a blur of white wings and flings himself at Solix's face like a dart. Solix jumps backwards only to have Karkat continue to chase him. Well, I guess we know that Karkat understands this then. Dave says flatly as Solix leaps the sofa to escape the ittiest-bittiest revenge in the world. Chapter end! Bada bing, bada boom. Karkat's a bird! Carbird! Oh, I love Carbird. Oh my god, where's my headset? Oh, there it is. Oh my god, Carbird! He's back! He's back and he's a little guy! He's so itty-bitty! Little white hummingbird. Little white baby hummingbird. I imagine he looks like one of these little guys. Like, look at him! It's so cute. They're so tiny. He's so tiny. Look at how tiny. Oh my god. What a little guy. What a little fellow. They're so cute. Oh my goodness. Anyway, what a loaded chapter. Oh, we got so much Rose going conspiracy theorist mode. Oh, just for some context, for people who haven't read Homestuck, because it's kind of obvious to people who have read Homestuck. Let me pull up. So Scratch is a character from Homestuck, if you guys weren't aware. This is Scratch. This is Doc Scratch. He is a bitch, and I hate him. And he's a guy in actual Homestuck. And he lives. He doesn't actually live on the moon in Homestuck, right? Because his whole thing is the green sun, and that's like, it's kind of a play on things. But he has this big old greenhouse, and then the felt are like these actual people. They're like these little leprechaun guys. And number 6 was the one with the little thing. Yeah, he does Alternia's Green Moon, right? Oh, I think you are right, yeah. Yeah, that is it. Doc Scratch. But yeah, so this is him. So if you needed like a visual in your brain, this is the visual. He is an absolute bitch. And I don't like him. I jokingly, the first time I saw him in Homestuck, I was like, oh my god, it's Dream. Because that's who he reminded me of instantly. And not in a good way. But I found it kind of amusing. But yeah, this is Doc Scratch. So just for context. Yo, Dream Scratch? It's funny, I've seen Dream SMP stuff, like AU stuff. And a lot of it's pretty good. To be fair. There's a, I think I've talked about this on stream. There's somebody who has a very extensive, like, Dream SMP stuck AO3 fic that is, like, styled in the format of actual Homestuck and is absurdly long and is still getting updated. And I don't read it, I don't follow it, but I just was, like, surprised by the level of dedication that this person had. But yeah. Soma's made a couple Dream SMP stuck stuff, and that has been pretty cool. So I like the putting Wilbur and Quackity together as Kismesis, because that's literally what they are. TNT duo Kismesis is like my fucking favorite. For people who now we know what a Kismesis relationship is like. I mean, it's obvious. It's obvious. That's what they are. Yeah. This is one of Soma's drawings of them. Oh, look at them! Look at them! My fucking beloveds. Oh my god, it's cursed in the best way. cursed in the best way. It looks so cool. Very, very sick. Anyways. I know there's some Hermit Stuck stuff as well too, which is pretty neat. I mean, I've made some Hermit Stuck stuff. I made Desert Duo Homestuck designs that I still really like. I'm still actually very happy with how those designs came out. They were really fun to do. Let me see if I can find them. Those are from last year. Where are they? Yeah, here they are. It was these two. I was debating on whether I wanted to make Grian or Scar the troll, and then so I just did both. I made one with Grian as a troll, and I made one with Scar as a troll, and then I flipped the other one was human. So I think it works both ways, and I think it's quite funny. Scar's Kane kind, as a troll, and then Bo kind as a sorry, sorry to flash Dave Cat flash. My bad. My Dave Cat doodle flash. But yeah, I really liked both these designs. I really like Grian's little horns. It was so fun. I got obsessed with the idea of traffic stuck a while back, and I think too much about it. I'll fall back into it. Yeah, I've seen people. There's a few people who have like class spected all of the Life series people, and it's pretty cool. And I agree with most of their takes. And I'm like, fuck yes, that is awesome. So, I'm always for it. I would probably redo these designs though. Though I like them both a lot, but I think it'd be fun to redo them if I ever wanted to. Hi Arch, welcome back. I was pinged by the word Homestuck, so I'm now here. I've tried, but I feel like their classes could change with each season, so I have a hard time choosing. Yeah, I agree. I think you would have to just pick one, right? Like one of the series to class spec, and then do it all based on that. Because if like a Green in Third Life versus Green in Last Life versus Green in Double Life and Limited Life, like they're all different. So it kind of depends. And then even this is okay, well, this is Hermitcraft, Scar, right? So I kind of mixed up a little bit there. But this is like distinctly like Life series. Like I imagine that this is like Third Life, right? Scar in Third Life, Scar would be a troll, and Green would be a little normal little guy. Imagine being trapped on the moon for like 60 years and this teenager shows up and is like, no, you're going home. But he's not a teenager, but he is. Yeah. They don't know he's not a teenager, to be fair. I think, also, like, you're like 90 years old. If I'm like 90 and I've been trapped on the moon, how old were Neil Armstrong age when landing on the moon? He was 38 when he went to the moon. Imagine being trapped on the moon. Yeah. Oh yeah, you said it, Skitty. For like 60 years, yeah. Like 50 to 60 years. And you're just kind of like ready to accept your life is over. As that you've lived here all this time. And then suddenly, I'm back on Earth. Holy fuck. And like everybody I know is probably dead or very old. And also gave up on me ever coming home. That'd be a fucking huge story. Be wild. Carcat Vantas is the most 300-year-old teenager. Yeah, for real. He acts like a teenager. Definitely, for sure. Maturity is not really there. He can be just hard-headed. I do find it funny though to imagine like instead of like properly shielding the guys, like Carcat fucking hold on. So, okay, ready for a flashbang screen. Wow, bright. Oh my god. Like, you're like, this is they like find this like fucking crater and Solux and like Solux and Solux and Rose. Oh my god, my eyes, yeah. So stupid. This is what they fucking find at like the bottom of this crater. Just fucking like there's smoke coming off of these poor astronauts who are like all wrinkly and old. Ugh. Anyways, I love them. I love them. And then Carcat's a little fucking bird. Yeah, they're beautiful. I love them. But oh, there's my background. Oh, I love them too. But yeah. Anyways, fun chapter. We will be back tomorrow as usual for the next one. Next one is chapter 25. I almost mentioned a thing that would have spoiled the whole fucking fic. I'll say in the HE channel, like the proper HE channel. Yeah, dude, make sure you do that. Don't don't accidentally spoil. Oh my gosh, tomorrow's another fucking long one. Oh my, we're getting long after long one. It's fucking banger chapters. Okay, 26 is less long. I really shouldn't be scrolling too far ahead, but I'm curious. Okay. The amount of things I've been wanting to say and then realize you have to give something away is so many. Yeah, there's a lot of also like Rose goes like full conspiracy theorist in this chapter, and any sort of like comment of like, you know, kind of trying to lead to where her answer is going is definitely like would give things away. Because I think like you can technically, I think definitely at this point be smarter than Rose and kind of piece things together and maybe make an educated guess on what the answer is. But there's still stuff like, you know, she's not able to put things together for a reason. She's always been kind of sus, but I have no clue what's going on with her. Yeah. You and Rose, man, both of you guys, you're on the same page. Oh, I figured out like way before this. Really? I didn't, because I'm stupid. I didn't because I'm a stupid little guy. I'm a little guy that does not think critically about any piece of media I ever consume. Well, I'm not listening. All right, I think I'm gonna dip. I'm not gonna stay in chat super late after stream today, because I'm gonna go get some stuff done. Also, there's things I want to mention that were like extrapolated but never happened in the fic. I get you. If you want to throw them into the AU channel, we can chat about them there. All my brain cells went towards Angel Cat theory, and my brain has no room left for anything else. I can get concretely. Yeah. Listen, if you get Angel Cat, you know Angel Cat. You know. All right. I'll talk to you guys all later. I'm gonna go again, dip, work on some stuff, and by work on some stuff, I mean, as usual, I always say work on things, and I do something else. And by this time, I'm gonna go watch an Outer Wilds playthrough, and try to relive it through other people's experiences. So, bada bing, bada boom. I'll talk to y'all later. We'll be back tomorrow for another pretty long stream, little chunky stream tomorrow, as usual. So have a lovely, lovely night. Talk to you guys later. Bye. I'm waving. Wow. Bam.